Hey friends, I have another soup recipe for you, P2 style French onion soup. Add 1 tablespoon of coconut oil and a half a tablespoon of minced garlic, which is about 2 cloves worth, to a good size saucepan. And then you want to add 2 cups of thinly sliced onions to that, and cook it over a medium-high heat until the onions become translucent. Remember, when cooking with coconut oil, the items that you are sauteing are cooking at a much higher heat. So after sauteing the onions for about 5 minutes over a medium heat, we're going to add 1.5 teaspoons of salt and 1 teaspoon of thyme. And then we're going to turn down the heat to the lowest setting, possibly even the lowest burner depending on your stove, and cover it and cook it for 45 minutes over that low heat, stirring frequently. Here are the onions after cooking them about halfway through, so about 20 plus minutes. And just took the lid off. You can see they're still very moist. This is a sweet onion, and so it seems to release more water than just a regular yellow onion, and it also isn't as pungent. When you slice it, it doesn't make your eyes well up with tears because it doesn't have the same pungency. So we're going to keep going another 20 minutes, just making sure that it's not burning. Put the lid back on and keep taking a peek. Okay, so in the last 5 minutes, you have to really keep an eye on it. This is after 40 minutes, and you can see that it is starting to caramelize, and most of the moisture is burning off, and you don't want to go through this whole entire procedure and have it burn, because then you have to start all over again. Once the onions burn, they become bitter. So at 40 minutes, we're going to stir it and then add 1 packet or a half a teaspoon of stevia. I'm also going to add 1 teaspoon of fresh ground pepper. And then I'm going to add the beef broth. So we're going to bring it back to a boil over a high heat. So the soup is boiling. I'm going to reduce the heat to a medium-low and simmer it for about 10 minutes. While it's simmering, I'm going to lightly add xanthan gum to the soup. You don't want to just dump it in one spot. You want to sprinkle it all over, because otherwise it kind of globs up. And then you want to stir well. Some people are rather sensitive to the xanthan gum. It's a natural thickener. You should get online and research it more. And then you have to adjust it for each recipe, and then whether or not the liquids are hot or cold all makes a difference. And then if there are any clumps at the top, you want to make sure to go ahead and break them apart so they dissolve into the soup. And what it does is it just gives the soup a thicker base. The last thing we need to add to the soup, it's optional, but this is a serving of steak. This is pre-grilled steak. What I do is I grill, again, remember I'm mop, so I grill large tri-tips and then slice them on the food processor and then portion them out into serving. So this soup is 2 servings. I'm going to add 2 servings worth of meat, each bag being 100 grams of steak. And we'll add that to our French onion soup here, which has a really nice consistency. It smells wonderful. You'll notice that the meat is, well, it's only cooked to medium rare. I don't overcook the meat because I typically will take that meat after I have defrosted it and use it in some type of dish. And so I don't want the meat to be dry and overcooked. So at this point, the meat is already no longer medium rare, and this soup is ready to plate and serve. This is not a soup we would want to reheat over and over again. The steak is optional. You do not have to add the steak. You could also add ground beef, or you could just eat the soup plain. The final product is 2 very large bowls of soup. This is a serving of Grissini off to the side that you would add if you chose at the last minute. You could sprinkle it over the top of the soup. Remember that you can have up to 2 Grissini a day. If you are MOP, you would combine both of those Grissini and eat them in one sitting. So this is your vegetable, this is your carb, and this is your protein, all in one serving. This soup is really rich and filling. This is a nice thing to have on the menu. You could start cooking it on a Sunday, and then all you would have to do at the last minute Monday when you get home from work would be to heat it up and then add the beef to it. Also, as we roll into P3, you could then be adding some cheese, grated Swiss or whatever cheese of choice you like, over the top of your Grissini. And then I've also seen it with a large portobello mushroom floating on the top of the soup rather than toasted bread. Okay, so some people are a little sensitive to onions. If you're following the HCG protocol and you are new to it, you may want to only introduce 1 new thing on a day that you try this soup, just to make sure that you don't have an increase the following day. Also, this particular soup is very high in sodium, and feel free to reduce the amount or adjust it to taste.